Okay, so the whole idea about Arpy is that most other modern languages like Node.js and .NET Core, ASP.NET, the core code, that has all become separation of how your code works and separating that entirely from the framework. So you can just drop out frameworks in and out. So you don't need to worry about that I'm running Indie server, I'm running this other server or whatever other server. It's just the server and there's an interface to it and it always speaks the same language. So our code doesn't have to change. If you suddenly say, okay, I'm chucking that out, I'm going to put HTTP server in, it should just keep working exactly as it did before. So long as the interface is respected. Okay, so there's lots of stuff here. But essentially, if you want to start using Arpy straight away, you can go to the trial repository, which is here. And if you click on that, that will take you to the GitHub. Oh, it's not a GitHub, it's actually a Azure one. And you click download as zip, and you can put that on your computer. And within 10 seconds, you'll be up and running with Arpy in your dev environment. There's no, and what's more, I can pick that code up, put it on somebody else's computer, double click on the start, and it will start working straight away. There's no installing that you have to do because we have a project. So it basically runs a project bundle. So the other thing is, if you look in, oh yeah, good one. All right, so I'll send the link, which I think I have done before, to the getting started documentation in the email group. But yeah, you can find out everything you want to know, and including how to do everything. There's videos, there's example code and everything. So the other thing is, if you go to get it package manager, you know, Sergey's been a bit slack over in wherever it is he lives, Romania or Ukraine or wherever he is. So he hasn't put up the latest one that I've just done on the weekend. But if you search for Arpy and get it, it will come up. The one here is the 03. 04 should be up there anytime soon. And I'm actually working on 05. So I'm actually going to show you some 04 and 05 code today. Okay. Get that? Right. So how do we use it and what is it all about? Well, I'll show you the simple approach. So if we were to go... Yes, hello, sorry, yes.
Can I ask a question now? I don't know anything about this. What is it?
Sorry, I didn't make that clear, did I? Okay. Arpy is a web server, secure web server framework. So it takes away all of the hard things that you have to do when you're writing code for web servers. It takes away all the security, the SSL stuff, just hides it for you, you don't have to worry about it. It automatically includes authentication, serialization, JSON, XML, URL, does all that for you. And basically all you have to do is write endpoints in your code. You say new endpoint, do whatever it is, return. And it will start.
So that's the server side. What's the client side?
The client side is, again, in the Delphi world, we're lagging behind pretty much. If you're still writing code that goes back to the server for every page, you've got to stop. We've stopped doing that 5, 6, maybe up to 10 years ago. All applications in the browser are far more rich than they ever were before. And in fact, most applications are now, the things that you see that are beautiful and wonderful on the page are just purely all JavaScript frameworks. So
mostly ads.
Yeah, and ads. No, I said the beautiful ones. I mean, ads aren't beautiful. Okay, so the client side stuff, you can use anything you want for the client side.
So Arpy isn't the client side. Arpy just provides. What's the interface called? Sorry, I should know what it is. But what's the interface protocol? Or is it an Arpy interface?
No. It's just standard HTML5 or HTML or whatever you want to deliver. So maybe if we just jump in and we'll do some things. So the second part of the presentation, according to the plan, was to talk about how the projects that you get that come with the bundle. So we will go in there. So there's two types. One is the web API, and one is the website. So obviously the web API, maybe not so obviously, it just provides data, or for the most part just provides data to be consumed by JavaScript front-end framework. So who knows any of these frameworks? Do you know what they're called? React, Vue,
Angular.
yeah, Angular, and Aurelia, hundreds. There's hundreds. There are literally hundreds of them. And so all of those things are far more powerful and far more beautiful than you could ever do by doing the way we have done it before. So really it's time to move on. You've got to stop doing that kind of coding, which is a bit of a pity because I love it. Okay, so let's go in here. So here we.
The Arpy is basically a HTTP server, and it'll just
It's the server architecture.
Whatever.
Yeah. So it's identical. It's almost identical to Node.js's Express web server.
Yeah.
It's almost identical. In fact, I used the same architecture to start with, and I extended it, and it has the same pieces as .NET Core ASP.NET Core. So if you're doing C# development, in fact, Arpy is way easier than ASP.NET Core, and simpler and more flexible, I think. Well, maybe not more flexible, but
So does it provide the web server, or does it sit behind the web server?
no, it provides the web server. Everything's all self-contained. So let's, shall we do it?
Which operating system is it under?
So it's Delphi. It builds native code. So if you deploy it to Linux and Mac and technically Android as well, then it runs on there natively. So the other thing is it's very modular. The fact that I built the standard one with Indy, which will give us a lot of support, but in fact I do have the beginnings of one using Windows HTTP daemon, which is the one that lots of things use on Windows. So it's what we have is an interface that says make me a web server, and Arpy doesn't care how you implement that underneath the interface. The other thing that we have is a test framework web server. So it looks like a web server, but in fact it's just a test framework. So you can just write test. You can have a test web server where you mock all the results, all the responses, and run unit tests against a thing that is identical to the code that you'll run on a server. And the other beauty is that you can, if in the future you decide, okay, HTTP3 server comes out, you make an Arpy, somebody makes an Arpy web version interface of that, you take out your Indy one, you drop in the HTTP3 one, turn it on, should just work. That's the idea. Okay, let's go and see how beautiful it is. I'm pretty proud of it, to be completely honest. This is the most amazing thing I've ever done, and I'm very disappointed that everybody isn't leaping over the desk with wonder and joy. Yeah, so Roger's been here before. So, okay, so if I've just downloaded the bundle, which I did, if I was in the Get It package manager, it'd just run automatically, but I'm going to do it by hand so you can see. So I have this thing here, installer here, and we don't really need the installer. It's just part of the Get It package manager deployment, and it quickly does things for you. So, but you can actually just pick the project up, whack it on another computer, and start it up. It'll just work. So if I just say add Arpy to Delphi projects, now I didn't call this setup or install or anything like that. Why didn't I do that? Does anybody know why I didn't call it that?
Zero config.
Because a whole lot of things hiccup on install.
Exactly the thing. Windows is looking for programs that are called setup, install or whatever. And if they do, it adds automatically, it puts security on top. Yeah. So it does those kind of things. So you can just run this at the command line, or you can just double click on the install bat file. It basically does the thing. It just checks. And all we're doing is adding templates to the repository, the template folder. We're not installing any components or anything in there. It's just making it easier to use in there. So I am instead, it's detected I've got Rio on here. It should detect I've got Tokyo as well. Now the reason it's taking a little while to do this is because the again, for beauty's sake, not because it's practical, there's a whole Bootstrap web page in the demo, in it. So when we go to the installer and start up, it actually has a lot of like a beautiful SPA type web page installed there. And what's more, it has each one of the different DCUs for all of the versions of Delphi that I've actually compiled it for. So that's why it's actually a little bit bigger than it needs to be. Right. So all I did was run that. And if I now go to File, New and Other, and in here we see that we've got Arpy Web Application and we've got Arpy Website. So again, I haven't installed any components or anything. All I've done is made that available as a project you can pick. So let's pick up the Arpy Website one. So I'm going to make a new one of those. I'm going to, for reasons that are not quite clear, I'm going to put it in the public folder under Arpy Trial. I'm going to make a new folder here called ADUG October, and I'm going to call that site. Let's call it that. Okay, and I'm going to select the folder, and then I'll wait for what the term these days is for the website to be scaffolded. That's the term. Everybody, you use jargon, it really impresses people. So I've got to scaffold my project now. So it is, again, as I'm saying, it's got a whole like demo website inside there, so that's why it takes a moment to build. Okay, so there's my project. Now, if we want to start using our website, I'm just going to hit the compile button. And so what it's doing, it actually deploys everything for you too. So first thing it's come up and says, hey, here's a new application. Windows are going to block it. And we get this website up straight away. Come on, Mr. Windows. Yes. Okay, so here's our Arpy website. Now, is this my mouse turned off? My mouse is turned off, yes. Okay, so you can see that this is what they call a responsive client, web application. So everything happens on the client side. So the server is not doing anything here. All of this clicking and stuff I'm doing right here is all client side. Happens inside the browser, never goes back to the server. The only thing it's done from the server, if we just go back and if I turn on the developer tools here and just look under the, actually, you know what I should do is look under Chrome, because I actually know it better than Edge. But I'm just running on this on Edge, and if we do reload here, you can see that I haven't optimized. I haven't done anything that they call web packing. So all of the individual files just get loaded from the server. Now the Arpy application that we're running is doing all that serving. And what's more, it's doing it securely. And I didn't do anything magical to make this work on this laptop. It identified I needed a certificate, created it for me, asked me, is it okay if I install this certificate? And I said, yep. And it's happy to do that. If I go back to my front end here, so this is just running as a console app. If I go to this place and open that up, and I go there, see it's made a certificate of the name of the computer that it's on. Mm-hmm. And if we look in here, there's a certificate request and a batch file to create it, and it's created the key file and the certificate for that. So if we had just have a very brief look at the certificate request, what we have in here is the things. So Arpy detected all this, set it all up for you, created the request, set everything up so that it would just work immediately. So a good way to show that that's working is if I go in here and delete that certificate, and I kill my app and start it up again. So you think that's disastrous, right? Oh no, my certificate's gone.
It creates a new one, does it?
Yeah, so if I now run it again, it will say, man, dude, oh, what's going on here? There's no certificate. So after a second, it's what's taking a bit longer. It says, oh, there's a new certificate for you. Let's install that. Now, just be aware that it's really bad to do what I'm doing unless you're really confident about the certificate. So this certificate I just created, and if we have a look, it's today, and if I have a look at the details of it, I created at 6:51 and 53 seconds, which is like 1 minute ago. So I'm pretty sure this is a certificate. So it's not a fake certificate that I made up. The other thing you can check is that if you look down here at the enhanced security features, somewhere in here, a subject, I don't know, it's got the name of this computer in it. So I'm confident that that is a good certificate that I can confidently install. Now, because it's just a one-layer certificate, it's not signed like they normally are, you have to put it into the trusted root certificate store. Now, that's, as I say, that's normally a bad thing to do. You don't just stick certificates in there, but because we're creating it for the, all the development environments will do it exactly the same way. So if we say OK to that and next and finish, and what I should have done was make sure all my browsers are closed, which I should do, close them. And that is just from experience that the browsers sometimes think, oh, hang on, this website had this certificate, wait on, something's wrong, and gives you all these kind of errors when they're not really anything wrong. So I'm going to say yes, I'm going to install that certificate, and I'm happy to do that, and I press enter to continue, and my website comes back up with a new certificate that is also trusted. Okay, so that's the certificate.
That's what you'd call a self-signed certificate.
That is a self-signed certificate, that's right. And there's a whole lot of things. So if I view that certificate, you'll see it's the one we just created at 6:51. Okay, right, so this is kind of awesome web page. You can do all sorts of stuff. And you click on this and it pops up neat things. And the other thing that is a beauty, this is why we have to stop doing it, trying to do it ourselves, is this is fully responsive. So I make that on my phone now. You see everything automatically just changes to the right shape. There are good graphic designers who can do all this stuff for you, so don't ever do it yourself. So for $40 or something, you can go to the Start Bootstrap website or the Bootstrap templates, or there's hundreds of them, and just get the whole. They'll give you like the package, and you just stick it in your contents folder, and off you go. Right. So that's pretty easy. So we're pretty happy. This is a nice website. But what is all this? What are we going to use it for? So let us we'll just leave that running. What we're going to do is start customizing this website for us. So we have this views and contents folder. So again, the Arpy template, it's just the template, it's just the project settings and the build events and whatever. So I've gone to all the trouble of setting the project up so that it deploys itself. There's nothing magical in it. There's no. All I'm using is build events and things like that to copy the code, copy things in, and get it all ready to deploy. So that's how it knows how to do it. So what I want to do is I want to start customizing things. So I'm going to drag the views, and this is where John was asking about what is server-side rendering. I'm going to show you what server-side rendering is. So I've added the view here to the page, and this is really annoying how the pop-up doesn't work when you've got 10.2 or 10.3. 10.2 it seems to work, but anyway. And I also want that back up there. So I'm just dragging my web pages. In fact, it's my web page templates into the project so I can view them and change them. So everybody knew you could do that, right? Nobody knew? I didn't know until a few weeks ago as well. It's amazing the stuff that you find. Okay, so what we've got in here is templates that build up that website. So here are the parts. So let's look at the home page and see what it looks like. And I'm going to unpin that and that so we can see it better. Doesn't look real flash. What does it look like? You see that there's no code in here. That is our website. Okay, so we've got a bit of JavaScript stuff. There's this weird thing here, and we've just got some tags. How's it work? Okay. Essentially, what this does is it says, okay, I've got a template which gets inserted in here called header comment. And if we had a look in our templates, we can see that header comment looks like this. And so that's got some stuff in it. But the beauty is that all that is all separated out. So I don't have. So if I wanted to say, like I don't like the nav, something in the nav, I'm going to open the nav up and go, okay, I'm going to change something in the nav. It's quickly changed. It's all done. So I don't have to go to each page that I have done a change nav and copy whatever those kinds of things. So I can just do it immediately. Now, so let's actually say, okay, I'm going to add some new thing here called memos. So I want a new page that is a copy of my work. So my work page. I'm just going to. I find it a bit easier just to do this now that I have that new drag and drop thing that I didn't know was there. How many years have I been using Delphi? 27, still 2026, and I still learn stuff every week. So I'm going to make a new thing called memo.htm. Okay. Now I haven't. You notice that the web server is still running, right? I haven't. All I've done is copy that thing called memo, right? No magic? I'm trying not to be magical, but it's because it looks kind of magical. It's very scary. Where is my thing? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up my web page. I'm going to go to HTTP localhost port. If I do that, what's going to happen?
Certificate of complaint.
What?
Wrong computer name.
No, so it automatically redirects you to the correct thing with the secure site on there. So you don't have to worry about that either. And so if you want to go back to the home page, I'm just going to type home, and there's our web page back. Now, we copied a template called Memo. So if I go to Memo, it says I can't render Memo. Why can't I? Because it's in our project, but I haven't deployed it. How do I deploy that? It's kind of a hack I'm looking for a better way. There's probably better ways. All I'm going to do is just compile. Even though the application is still running, it's going to give me an error saying, hey, the page is already running. But I've done it in the pre-build script. I've done the deployment in there. So now if I go back to my web page and then do this again, it's okay, here's my new page called Memo. Now, it's still got the My Workplace because all I did was copy that page. So is this going too fast, or is you getting it? Getting bits of it? Rightio. So, oh man, it's bloody pop-ups. So I almost shut my VM down there. Sorry about that. Let's make sure we didn't do anything too drastic. Okay, so obviously that is no good to us. What we want to do is go back to Delphi and our template. So if I say add to project, add, which I could have done the drag thing, but I'll just do that. So I'm in October, so I'll go to my views and I say what kind of thing I want to add, which is a web file, and I'm going to add Memo to my project just so I can work on it. So the thing is that, so here is our work page. Obviously, we don't want some of the things that are in there. So for a start, we don't want it to be called My Work Page. We want it to be called Memos or something like that. So let's call it Memos. With one M, Memo. Oh, I'm going to get there. Memos. All right, let's call it that. The other is I don't want this image, but I can just turn it off. So what I'm saying here is inside of header image, which is inside head common, there is header common, this one here. There is a item called header image. If I just quickly look, so in header common, if we look in here, there's this thing called header image. So what I can do is I can use what's called a property, which is basically, it's a React/Vue kind of term, where it says, go find me this object and I want to change some of the properties of it. So I want to change the style of header image to display none. Okay, so that will turn off the image. I don't want to delete it out of there, although I could. I don't want to turn it off. The reason will become a bit clearer later. Okay, so now we've made those 2 small changes. I'm just going to save my page. I'm going to compile, i.e. run the build events. I don't actually want to restart the server. Go back to my web page. Wish that was easier. So I'm here. I want to do a reload of that page. So now we see that we've changed the header to Mimos and the image is gone. Got it? There's a lot of blank faces here.
Yeah, so
How do you-
the server kept running, right?
The server is still running. All I did was redeploy the pages.
Can you show how you do the redeploy then?
Okay, so you want to see how you actually do that in Delphi, how to deploy something like that?
Yeah, how you do it.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a way that works. I'm a little bit unhappy. I mean, you can add all sorts of things to here. So that, you know, this build tool thing, you can add all sorts of stuff in there. But there's an awful lot of good stuff that's already there that we hardly ever use. So what we do is if we go to the projects options, and in here we have all sorts of stuff. But one of the things is build events.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got post-build events and pre-build events and pre-link events. So in these things, you can just put in DOS commands. One that is awesome is xcopy. Does everybody remember the days when we could use xcopy? So xcopy has all sorts of things like copy all the files in this folder to another folder if they're newer, or if they're older than this date, that kind of thing. So that's all I'm doing here. So when so in my post-build events, I've got things like if I'm dev, I want to do that OpenSSL exe so I can create a certificate automatically. But in prod, I don't want to do that. I just want the DLLs. So the OpenSSL. So after it builds, I put the OpenSSL libraries into the folder. Make sure you don't forget. Okay. So that's how it just works out of the box. The pre-build events are the things where we're doing the deployment of the website. So as I said, there's probably better ways to do it, but this certainly works. So all I've said was xcopy the projects out of the views folder in my project and stick them in the output folder. So when you click build, it says, oh, what are my pre-build events? Xcopy, and just copies the files there. If there's a more beautiful way, let me know, but that certainly works and I'm pretty happy with how that works.
So all the files have to be in the same folder as the executed.
Absolutely, and that's the other mindset you need to get into. The idea of you're saying, someone was saying earlier, oh, I don't feel brave enough to put a new version of Delphi on and everything. I just do it every day. I just pick up and go to another machine, plunk my project in, and press go. I don't have, because I've created a project bundle which has everything that you need to build your project in the folders. I mean, the old days, things were, space was scarce and expensive. Now it costs nothing. So you encapsulate all of your code into a single set of folders. It's how Visual Studio does it. And one of the things that Anders did when he first got there was created, I think, like all this stuff everywhere. It's just a disaster. So you actually have everything in there. The other advantage is that I'm working on something, and I have 3 team members who are also working on it. I just check it into the Git repository, all my changes, they check theirs out, and without a brand new installer Delphi, nothing installed on it, double click it, boom, opens up, start, and they can start working. Get a new version of Delphi, start it up. Just point at the folder and start it up, that's it. It's nothing to install, no components. You can also do all components and everything, which you probably saw at my symposium presentation a couple of years ago, if anyone can remember back that far. So that's taking the project bundling to the next level. And what we're going to do later, which is the thing that they should say you never do at demos, is use somebody else's laptop. So we're going to do that. We're going to, after we muck with this project, we're going to stick it on somebody else's laptop and start working on it. All right. So are we happy with that? What we did there?
No, not yet.
Okay. So
From that block, the site control.
Yep.
How do you know where the image comes from?
Okay. So again, this is the demo kind of thing, and what we're doing, or what I'm doing, is I've made a standard thing. This is one more concept, if you want to get into it, of what we do is convention over configuration. So we don't want to have to set up all this crap in the beginning. What we have to do is, by default, it just goes in the spot you think. If you need to configure it later, you can, which is around the other way that we're used to be doing it. So what we should do is have things that just work out of the box, and if you need to change it after you've got it working. Not spend 4 days with nothing and nothing to show, and then, oh, I finally got it working on the 5th day. In the meantime, you've forgotten why the hell you even started the project, usually. Okay, so all of these are ones that we're building up and again, there's another GitHub thing called Arpy Bootstrap, free Arpy Bootstrap, which has all of these templates with the same name, which again I'll show you in a sec. Anyway, we're getting bogged down. I'll just try and get there. So, but if you have a look at any one of those, you can see where the things are. Now, again, by convention, the things that make sense are in the spot where you think. So, if you want to change something in the navigation bar, it's called nav. Okay, if there's something in the header or the header section, it's in the header, header. There's a bit of confusion about head and header, so you do have to be a bit careful with that. But there's header common and head common. So head common is the one that goes in the head section, and header is something that's in the body that's near the top. So, all right. So what do we want to do now? So we've got our page. We've just popped back over to it to see where we were up to. We were up to the part where we've got our things, and it just says Memo, but we haven't got any forms in there. It's no good to us. Doesn't do anything. So we'll extend that, and we'll go. Now inside of the contact form, remember where you did the page, and there was a section that said send an email or whatever basically it was. That's in this contact form, HTML. So I'm going to open that up. And one of the things you have to do about these Bootstrap websites is they're quite linked together, and they override just about everything using CSS. So if you just drop a input box in the hole, very likely it just won't display at all. It'll be covered up by something. So you have to follow the style of the site that you get. So the way you'd ideally do this is, okay, get all my business logic, and I can just use very basic forms or whatever to, or the basic template with all these things the same, or, the standard one. And it doesn't matter really what it looks like. It could look pretty crap, but as long as all the functionality works. Then you get your graphic designer, or you go to the free Arpy website, and you get a Bootstrap theme that, oh, I like that one, or I like that one. So, but if you do that, then you have to follow that theme's way of doing things. So that's why I'm copying something out of something I already know works, rather than just trying to do it myself. So what I'm going to do is, this whole section is kind of what we want. So it's got more things than we need, but that's all right. I'll just take that whole section out, and I'm just going to dump it into my new page. Probably in the future I'll turn it into a template, but that's all right. So I want it to go somewhere between the header and the footer, right? That's what I want to do. Now, the first thing we want to do is go up to the top and say, okay, so this was contact. So obviously the sections, we want to call it something like Memo. So call it Memo section. And the next thing is, I see that we've got this bar thing here, which I actually don't want that, and I don't want the contact me thing. So that star, if you look on the page, there's already one there, and this is a copy of it, so I'm going to get rid of that. So then I've got a form. Obviously, I want that to have a name that is sensible, so I'm going to say post Memo. And critically, there's name and there's ID. Name is pretty much never used anymore. So everything that we do with JavaScript stuff and JavaScript front ends and these kinds of things, you use the ID, not the name. So we'll just make them both the same to take away any ambiguity. There's this thing called form token as well, which I haven't talked about, but we'll come back to that shortly. And the first thing is a name. So I'm going to use that one. So what we're going to is a memo with a title and a memo box that you can fill in. So you can send a memo to somebody, just call it title and memo. Right? So I'm going to call it a title, and obviously the ID we want to be called title. And these need things called placeholder, and there's this other thing called required, which unfortunately we won't have time to look at, but I can explain what that's there for. So let's call this title, or memo title, say. Memo title. Okay, so that is the first thing. But you see, that's an input box that we're going to put our title. So I only want one of those. The next one is for email, and the next one after that is for a phone number. So I don't need either of those ones. So I'm going to get rid of those. The next one is with our message box, though. So I want to call that memo text or something, or memo message. Okay, and we want to call this memo text. And the placeholder can be memo. And if I've got a placeholder and I've actually got content, which I think I do on this one, this is my message there. Yeah, it's still there if you blank it all out. So I'm going to leave, this is my message, make that, this is my memo. So I'm going to send a memorandum to somebody. This is what our website's going to do. Okay, so this is my memo. Everything else looks pretty good. We've got this button down the bottom here which says, there's a success thing which I'll come, maybe when I don't have time, I'll have to probably skip over it. But it's a button. It's got these bootstrap overrides here that says this is a button, primary, blah, blah, blah. So it's all got CSS styling on it. And we want to say, make this post memo button. Now, I am going fairly quick here because there's some magic to stuff to see. Anyway, post memo. Sorry, what did I do?
Right there, just in front of the V, you missed the O.
Post memo button. Yes, that would have been good. Rightio. So let's see what we've got now. We're going to redeploy that. Again, web server still running. So all I'm doing is just using the pre-build events. Okay. And then I'm going to say, where's my web page? Here's our page as it was, and then if I click on the button to refresh, we now have memo and post memo. So that's our new page. Now that's a little bit big, so I'm just going to make it smaller so we can see. Okay, so that's our memo page, and you see that you don't have to do anything to do it. You see the little hamburger appeared automatically because that's just part of the template, so I don't have to do anything. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so now we've got our memo. So here's our memo title, and we can put it there. Hello, ADUG. And you see it's got this beautiful little title that appears up here, magic. So again, we don't have to do anything about that. It's all part of the theme. And this is my memo message. And it says, here's my hint, memo message. And if I click post memo, what's going to happen? Nothing. We haven't hooked anything up to it. Okay, but that looks pretty good. All those kind of things is kind of working straight away, so that's pretty makes us pretty happy. All right, so how are we going to make it do something? So if we go back down here to our site control. Site control, there's a great deal of info on the website about this. So it's actually just a little JavaScript, in fact it's TypeScript class that I wrote for the purpose of this. It sort of gives you much of the functionality as like Vue and React and whatever, but it's really, really, really light. It's it just implements the bare minimum. Again, it's supposed to be a template for you to extend. So so if you get really good JavaScript programmers, they cost nothing. Just get those to come in, help you with the JavaScript if you want to do it. Otherwise, just write JavaScript yourself. Or you write TypeScript yourself, actually. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here, on here is a form, and so what I want to do is instead of trying to fiddle around with the content of the form, I'm going to put rules down the bottom of my page to say how to deal with that. So I'm going to say inside control, so this is a tag here with attributes in the tag. One of the attributes you can use is on submit. Submit. And what we want is the form name here. So the name of the form, which we said was Memos, is it? I don't remember. We called it, the ID of it is post memo. So that's the thing. So we're saying, okay, Mr. Page, when you load, I want you to do these things to make the post memo form do this action. So I'm going to say in here, post memo, find that thing, and then when you see it, send it off to the server at post memo. Okay? So that's going to be an endpoint on the server. And then after that, we're going to say, what do I want to do with it? Now, again, this is because the site control is a really small thing. You can not do a lot at the moment. You can just display it or put it into another field or whatever. In fact, most of the things are disabled, so it's just for extensions. It's just a placeholder, really. But it does do display. And all that does is, when you get the answer back from the server, just display it on the screen. Okay, so that's all we need to do. And then we go, okay. Again, pre-build advanced. Okay, I've deployed that. Reload my page. And now if I so that's going to post it, but again, we still haven't done anything on the server side. If I click on that, it says, this web server says, hey, post me. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So we haven't got anything on our server. That is the endpoint for this code. All right, so let's go add that. So this time we will have to actually stop the server because we're going to make a change to the server. So I'm going to go to, this is a console app, of course, so if we go to our project, and just say view source on that, view source, all Arpy apps just have this in the bottom. So you don't need anything else. Where everything happens is this web app unit is where you configure everything. So the server will start and it said, I'll get my configuration out of here. So let's open up the web app. If I click on the right thing. And we've got some things up the top of our form here. So the top of our form says things like, what am I using? So you see we're always going to need these. And pretty much the rest is, depending on what you're trying to do, these things will be necessary or not. So one of the things is because we're using server-side rendering, we need the render unit. And if we don't want to do rendering, we just take it out. We're serving up files, so that means we want to act as a web server that can dish back files, mainly because all that bootstrap stuff is just files that it's loading from the server folder. So we need static files. If you don't want to serve files, just take that out. You just only have it web endpoints. You don't want to serve any files, just take that out. The middleware RPC, we haven't actually seen that yet, but this is, you can create any class in Delphi, any class at all, doesn't have to be special, and say, okay, expose that. And so then when you, on the server side, you can either post data or put it in the URL or wherever you want to do it, and when you click on the button, that will hit the class at the other end. If you have a JavaScript a JSON object, well, that's a complex array, a complex what we call a model or view model. If you post that and the target endpoint that you have has a class that matches that, or even any of the fields that match it, it will create a class for you of that type, populate it with the data from the server, and say, okay, here's your parameter. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so what we're trying to do here is handle this thing here, this post memo. So you see we've got the kind of things that we can do. We can do a get, and what happens when we do a get, we have an anonymous function here that serves up the get. And it sort of makes no sense. I say response, okay, send me that in HTML type. Pretty simple. It's exactly how it's done. In fact, if you put Node.js with Express code side by side, it's almost identical. So we can say, it's not just a get. It's a route which has get or post, and you can go get or post or delete and push, pop, all those things that are allowed. Okay, and this one's just a post, so it means it won't accept. But it's kind of weird. It's got a PHP on the end. That's not really a thing. It's only I'm using that as the endpoint because that's what the Bootstrap web page has. It's called. Now, I have some templates here, so all I have to do to get my endpoint to work is I say I'm going to accept post from, what do we say, post Memo, and then in order to deal with that, I'm going to make an anonymous function which would deal with that. But
You're missing starting code and post name.
sorry, I've got that. Oh, thanks. I have. Which is why we should use things like templates. So if I go, is it app get? Yeah. So that's just a code template that the guy showed us. Sorry, I think it was. We saw it. We keep forgetting that all these neat things have been here since Delphi, like 5, 4. That is just a template. Just a code to completion template. So in this case, we're actually going to say get. Okay, that's a get, but we want to post, and it's post Memo. What do we want to do with it? What's coming from that page? We are getting a thing called title and a thing called Memo text, I think. So if we go back to our Memo HTML, so we're sending Memo text and we're sending title. So we're expecting to see those things. So go back to our config. Again, we don't have to do it all in this page. It's just easy and convenient for the demo to do it. You probably have nicer structure to deal with it. But anyway, so let's do that. So what we can say is if a request dot parameter, what name did we say? We said it was title as string dot length 0. Then what do we want to say?
Push off.
Yeah, it's a bad request, right? So we can say response dot bad request. You need a title. Okay, this is one of the things that we shouldn't actually be doing, but it's good purpose of the demo. So we can do all that down on the client side, and it's way better and much more beautiful. So we don't actually need to validate on the server side, apart from the fact you do the validation, but you don't have to like tell the user it's done. It's all done on the client side. You need a title. And that's pretty much all we need to say is we say bad request, you need a title, that's it. Okay, else if, let's just make ourselves complete, else if a request parameter name Memo, what was it? Memo text? Actually, case insensitive at the moment. I'm considering whether or not to make it configurable. A string length 0. Then again we've got a bad request. A response dot bad request. So you could actually also say dot status status code completion. So it's a 400, I think. If we go down here and find it, you can just say that as well, bad request. And then you can say, after that, you can say content. You need a Memo text. Okay, so that's so you can do that as well. Okay, otherwise, yeah, it's all good. We can say, yeah, we posted it. We won't really post it, but we'll tell it we did. Else a response dot OK. Your Memo has been posted. We can implement that however we want, but obviously, for the purposes of the demo, that should do us. Okay. So what do we think of that? It's kind of simplistic. It all makes sense. Nothing too magical there. I keep saying not magical, but in fact it really is. Now, what did I make a mistake of? You need text. Did somebody say that I did this wrong? Else if blah 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 0. Then a response status. Okay, I can't quite remember how you do this. I'm just going to make it the bad request one again. It's actually there's so much stuff in here now I've even forgotten. And I'm the world expert on this, you know.
We quite like the changing, so the method changing, so you do two things on a response in one line.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's just by returning the. Yeah, so it's a fairly simple technique. So, and again, it's what JavaScript frameworks do. So that's why I emulated it. Don't need to, of course. You could just say a response to bad request, semicolon, and then do the next thing. But, okay, so if I've done that right, I've still got something wrong, I think. Oh, it's because I'm running. Because the application's still running. Okay, so let's kill that one. Okay, so we really do need to recompile it this time. And now if we run, and provided we've done everything right, which I think we did, although this is a demo, so chances are not. Okay, so we haven't got anything in the nav bar about how to get there yet, so we just have to type Memo into the list, and that'll take us to the memo. And then if we just try and post that straight away, again, if we've done everything right, it says, you need a title.
Oh, from the server.
Yep, that came back from the server. And the page didn't refresh. So we didn't post it. We only sent that particular message to the server. The page is still there. So in the old days, we really used Ajax, but as of HTML5, we're using a thing called Fetch, which is all the browsers support that, and it just inherently does it. So if we put the title in, hello, ADUG, and we put in here, we rub this out. Hopefully I've done all these things that says, hey, you need text. Okay, I've got text, type it in, and then post. And it says, your memo has been posted. Do we like that?
Yes.
Pretty easy? So, and it looks awesome. Oh, well, awesome-ish, I mean, yeah. Say, are we all happy with that? Does anyone want me to stop and do something and show you something else? Or okay, you like that? Right, now, the thing I was saying about the themes and things. This is why we do server-side rendering. So what we're going to do, we could go do this nav thing, but we'll do another thing first. I'm going to leave that page open. I'm going to leave the server running. I'm going to now go, and I'm going to, hopefully I've got this in a spot I can find again. If we go back, okay, here's our views folder. So if we go up to the top of the Arpy trial, the thing I was talking about is this free bootstrap thing. So what we've got is there's a thing called free start bootstrap or free bootstrap or something like that. There's a website for that, and they have a whole lot of themes there. So what I'm doing is turning those into renderable pages. So I'm going to go in here. This is the agency thing. So I'm going to copy these two folders, the views and the content, and because they've all got the same names, conventionally, I can just update my whole website and put it into a new theme, or for that matter, you can actually render different themes for different users if you want it. It doesn't really matter. Again, it's just serving up content. Now, where did I just have to go back again? Sorry. Okay, back. I say. I could just drive my computer to be really good. Okay, so I'm here. I'm just going to go back up to Arpy trial. I'll go back into our site, which again is still running. So the server's still running or whatever. So next I'm going to say, I don't like this content anymore. So that's the content for the Bootstrap page. I'm going to delete all that out of my project. I am going to overwrite views because generally we don't change the standard ones very much. So in some cases you have to be a bit careful. Now, did I do that in the right way? Did I paste it in the wrong spot? I think I pasted it in the wrong spot. Why wasn't anybody paying attention then? Okay, sorry, I think I did that wrong. And these websites, some of them can be enormous. They're huge, which is that thing I was talking about before about web packing. So what you can do is take all of that stuff, squash it into a single file, so it doesn't download hundreds and hundreds of different files. You just squash it into one file. There's a thing called Webpack, which is you basically point it at the website and it gets all the CSS and all the things, just squashes them into single, like 3 files. And so then when you download the page, the whole thing comes at once. Okay, so views, didn't know I did it right. Look, I did do it right. So I'm going to replace the files in the views, because I know they're all the same name, except for the one that I created, which was a new one, right? So I'm going to replace in the destination. Okay, so now I have updated my content. And it says, hey, all these things have changed, so I'll just say yes to all. Those are the ones that I was just opening for reference. The one that we're working on, which was the Memo one, we haven't changed that. It's not part of the standard one. So I just use my build events to deploy again. So you'll notice that when I build this time, it's going to take a bit longer because it's actually copying all those files into the target location. It says an error, but that's just because the server's still running. And again, I haven't restarted the server. I haven't done anything magical, hidden anything underneath. The server's still going. The page is still displayed. And I say to myself, I might need to do a little trick here. The trick is I'm going to turn on the developer tools in Chrome. Thank you. The reason I'm doing that is because it's got caching override stuff in it. So I can say, okay, forget about all the caching stuff. I just want to do it. And then I can also, if you hold this button in developer mode, and you can do a hard reload. And we stuffed it. Okay, well, that worked 100 times earlier this week. But what did we do wrong?
At some stage we should have a copy.
Yes, I'm about to stop. So it would have been beautiful if that had worked, because it would be really good if that just worked.
So different, but the same.
Yeah, it did look different, but it wasn't how it's supposed to look. HTTP. Okay, and home. Come on, baby. Bugger. Okay, we didn't. Oh, you know what I did? This is the thing. Because yeah. Now I know what I did wrong. Okay, trust me, it is going to work. Trust me, I'm a rat. What did they say? In the deployed folder, if you don't delete everything out of here, it remembers crap and leaves. It's all sorts of different files that come up, and the files are newer or not newer or whatever. So if we get rid of those, again, server's still running. Trust me. And then we redeploy. Come on, it'll do it this time. And I want it to be beautiful because I put a little Easter egg in here. Are you supposed to say that you put an Easter egg? I don't think you are. Sorry, I was too excited. You're supposed to discover them, but I'm going to have to point it out because... Okay, so now if we refresh... Okay, so we've changed. So we've got a new thing. And we've got this. Okay, and so everybody knows who all these people are? I don't know who this ugly guy is. I'm on the end here. Marco and Han, we'll call him. Okay, and what about our page that we made new? Not home Memo. We'll go back to Memo. We go back to Memo. And we've got one extra button which wasn't in the other theme, so we might have to deal with something with that. But there's our message. There's our stuff with the new theme. Blah, blah, blah. And post, and says your memo has been posted. So you see that is the beauty of server-side rendering. Just drop in the whole new thing. You could actually make it, so long as those tags are the same, you could put any style. It doesn't have to be Bootstrap. Can be there's a whole lot of different ones that could be. Okay.
It's all depending on class names, basically.
Yeah, but we're trying to avoid caring about that. All we care about is the header section is this part in this website. So I can go and get that header section and put it in the thing called header, my theme. And if you I mean, these are the ones this is the names I've used by convention, and sometimes they're not always appropriate, because sometimes if you put a theme there, you've got maybe some JavaScript in this tag, which is only suitable for a particular one, and so maybe you have to take that one out. So you do have to do a bit of jiggery-pokery sometimes, but that's what we're trying to do with those Arpy standard Bootstrap themes. Anybody's allowed to contribute. So if you get a new Bootstrap theme, or it doesn't even have to be a Bootstrap theme, it can be any kind of theme. So long as you follow those tag names, you'll be able to put that, upload it, and other people will be able to use it, and maybe even pay you, right, if you want, depending on the licensing. Okay. Do we like that so far? Somebody like it? We've got a little claps, yeah. Oh man, we're way behind.
So we're just getting started.
Yeah, this is like step 1 of 15. But now again, how we're going to just if you want to just hang about for a minute, or have your tea, I'm not really minding. How are we going to turn off that extra button?
Yeah, I'd like to turn off the.
Yeah. So what we have to do is go. Okay, what is this button? It's probably in the header comment. Let's have a look. And yeah, this button called what's it called? Tell me more. Yeah, that's the one. So, and that's called. If I use my mouse, it might be better. Turn it on. That button is called. Where is the ID? Can anybody see it? Header button. Okay. So all we have to do is go back to our Memo HTML and say, okay, I want the header button, and we want to spell. Yeah, well, actually, it's nearly the same as this one. So we just want to say header image, but instead header button, style, display none. So we can turn it off. So that doesn't muck up the template, doesn't muck up the theme. So I mean, we could do a whole lot of things like, you could actually put that in a separate template. So you could actually say in this one here, nav common, you could, instead of having the button, sorry, not nav common, header common, you could swap out this and put a new template in here. So you could say header buttons or something like that. So you could say header buttons and make that into a template, and then you make a new file called header buttons and put it in there with that content in it. And that way you've got more control over that particular thing. So you can choose to include it or not, maybe. Okay, so that's what you can do. So server-side rendering is extremely powerful, and the beauty it gives you is, again, you don't have to worry about how your website looks. That's somebody else's problem. People are good at doing design. I'm crap. That's why I get other people to do it. So it relieves us. It takes all that away from us. We don't have to. We don't have to worry about it. Okay, tea time. Now, who's got their laptop?
Robert. You spoke to Robert earlier.
Yeah, I did, yeah. So, Robert. Can we... Oh, he's there. Okay. Come on. Robert, can we borrow your computer?
What did you say, Blake?
Can we borrow your computer?
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
What did you want?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I start
You want the portable trial, or?
Sorry, what?
You want the portable trial?
Oh no, I'm just gonna copy this one on. Again, this is the thing you should never do, but we're going to give it a go.
That's all right. You need a charger?
Will it need it?
Should be all right.
Well, we're only going to do it for about 5 minutes or
Oh,
so.
that'll be okay.
Yeah.
Just starting there, I've been in the top months of it, but sorry, get something good.
Can you? Yes. Make something work. I don't. I probably broke it. Did I? Maybe that thing that you said that the powers. Maybe the power isn't going to last. She's coming on. When nice? You haven't got viruses on your computer.
No. I've got the world's best antivirus software. Malware based.